Okay, this is Emily Greco recording from the living room on with Patrick Greco on April 29th, on the topic of the Vietnam War. So, how old were you at the time of the war?
In 1964, I was 15 years old.
Where were you living, or were you living with your family, and where did you live?
Yes, I was living in or on Staten Island in New York with my family, and I was going to high school. Um, yeah, I guess I was in second or third year of high school.
Did you know anyone in the war?
I think that I had friends who had relatives, older brothers or cousins who were over the years were drafted or volunteered to go to the war.
Were you in favor of the war or against it?
At first, I don't think I thought too much about it. I didn't think that it was going to be affecting me, or I had any idea how long it would be going on for. So I don't know. It was a news item, but when it was first starting, I didn't think too much about it.
Were your parents in favor of the war?
I don't think they were very political, but they usually supported what the government was doing.
Um, were your friends and family in favor of the war?
I think at first most people thought that we were, the government, the United States government was doing something good, helping out some poor country. But I think thoughts and feelings changed over the years as it kept going on and on.
Did you know well about the history of the war, and do you remember the Gulf of Tonkin incident?
Uh, well, around the time that it was first starting, I was kind of young and did not know too much about the history, but I had a vague idea that the French had been there in Vietnam and that they were fighting, and I didn't know what it was about. The Gulf of Tonkin, I didn't know until we started talking that that seems to have been the start of American involvement in Vietnam.
Yeah. How did the war affect you?
Um, well, when because the war went on so long, I graduated high school and went to college, and it was during my college years that the draft made me eligible to go fight and maybe be killed. So I was affected by having to think about that.
How did the war affect people you knew?
Well, I suppose in similar ways that young men my age, were all thinking about whether they would be drafted and have to change their plans or whatever it is that they were doing. Um,
Um, did it change your opinion on politicians or government? And how did you view President Johnson and Nixon?
okay. Yeah, I think that the war did a great deal to uh, make me understand that what the government was doing could affect me personally the, because of the government's policies were meaning that I could go and be killed. So I think I had to think more about the government and politics, and I definitely began to mistrust what the government was doing. President Johnson or Nixon. Well, I and my family were always Democratic, so I think that Johnson, I tended to trust his politics more than Nixon, who was a Republican and didn't like him.
Okay, were you given the choice to go to the war?
There was a lottery system while I was in college, which meant that we were or eligible young men were given numbers, and the numbers were put on bingo balls, and someone picked the numbers out of a bowl, and depending on when your number was picked would decide whether or not you would be called to go.
Would you be willing to go to the war?
No, I was not willing. I didn't want to stop attending college to go and maybe be killed when I wasn't sure what the ideas were about fighting. I didn't know what the point was, what we were trying to do.
Okay, what were you willing to do to get out of going to the war?
I was thinking about moving to Canada. I was thinking about saying that I was mentally sick. I was also thinking about saying that I was homosexual.
Okay. What were you willing? Did many people want to go to the war?
Not the people that I knew at school so much as maybe some of the more conservative people back on Staten Island. I was going to NYU, Greenwich Village, which was a pretty liberal place.
About what percentage of people in your area wanted or did not want to go to the war?
Well, as I said, Staten Island tends to be politically conservative, so there were probably more young men willing to go fight for the country from Staten Island, but I was living in
What did you think about
Manhattan at
people
the time,
that
and
went to the
most
war?
of the people who were educated
I
and
thought that they were
thought of themselves as
different
liberal
than
didn't
I
feel that
was,
the
and
war
that
was
they
justified
had
and
different
wanted to go.
politics, and
They were just different from me.
Did you change your feelings?
About the war?
Yeah.
I think, yes, I became more opposed to it over the years as it became the thinking about what we were trying to accomplish was I didn't understand what it was we were trying to do. Keep the communists from taking over the country. I don't know.
Were you emotionally affected by the war?
Yes, because I had the realistic prospect of leaving college and going somewhere to die.
Did you change your feelings about the war once it was over?
I think after it was over, I felt that most people I knew and much of the country came to think like I did, that we were fighting a war to save people who didn't want to be saved, or that there was not much reason for fighting in Vietnam.
Do you remember where you were when you found out it was over?
If it was over in 1974, I believe I was working on Staten Island. I don't remember so well what was going on then.
Okay.